King is a known member of the Rolling 60s Crips street gang, and while this affidavit doesn't accuse him of firing any shots, it does say he's one of 3 gang members captured on surveillance video and part of this investigation. A convicted felon and known gang member arrested in connection with this deadly shooting in downtown Chattanooga. A federal affidavit puts this man, Garrian King, at the scene of the shooting, saying he arrived in a stolen car with 2 other gang members. One of the men King was with captured in this viewer video holding a rifle just before shots rang out on McCallie Avenue.
Oh God, they out here showing.
Federal court documents show King admitted to investigators that he was on McCallie Avenue the night of the shooting. He told the FBI that after the shots rang out, he picked up the rifle from the other gang member, got into the passenger seat of an SUV, and fled the scene. This viewer video captured before the shooting shows people questioning why this man is carrying a gun right in the middle of this large late-night crowd. It then shows a rush of people running away in a commotion.
Take off running, baby. I'm ready to go.
The affidavit goes on to say King admitted he bought the rifle on May 28th, just days before the shooting. It doesn't say from where or whom, but it does say he paid $800 for this firearm. Police say they now have the gun as they work to piece together this deadly puzzle. Now, King was still on supervised release prior to the McCallie shooting. That was for a firearm charge. The ATF says they are looking to question the other 2 men captured in that surveillance video. They say they do know the identity of at least one of the men, but they've redacted his name in the affidavit paperwork we have right here.
Chief Murphy confirmed just last night the CPD surveillance camera that just hours ago stood on this pole was not working properly during the mass shooting here on McCallie Avenue. Chief Murphy has repeatedly said the malfunction of this camera on McCallie Avenue is not stalling their investigation into Sunday's violence.
Go ahead on.
Let me reiterate that, unfortunate as that is, we still have enough leads that are very, very active at this point that we're following that should get us some resolution.
But the question remains whether police could have dispersed this crowd gathered in the street before the shooting if they had access to that footage in real time. It's a concern that was voiced by some residents at City Council last night.
I am shocked and dismayed by the videos that I've seen online through multiple resources that showed a large presence of people on McCallie Avenue right in front of Park Ridge Hospital.
CPD has over 50 real-time intelligence cameras throughout the city that have the ability to monitor high crime risk areas in real time. The McCallie camera is one of 4 police say are currently not working.
That's a problem that I have to own up to and that we'll fix for the future.
According to police in the city, issues with the McCallie camera were reported to Chattanooga's IT department about 2 weeks before the shooting took place. IT checked the camera out.
The situation with the cameras are that it's when the cameras go down, we have to get them fixed, and there's a process to that that's not totally on our timeline.
EPB helps take down and mount the cameras. They say they didn't receive notice the McCallie camera had to be taken down for repair until Monday, the day after the mass shooting. The city backs that up. We were here this afternoon when EPB took it down so the vendor can repair it. This situation prompted frustration from some community members last night.
This is a big problem because I really feel like that camera at that corner at McCallie and Willow Street, it would have caught everything that you needed to see.
And a response from Chief Murphy.
We cannot guarantee that technology is not going to go down on us. Mm-hmm. But what we can do is come up with measures to be able to get the technology up and running or find alternative measures in those areas as soon as possible.
A recent study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association finds that for every death in a civilian public mass shooting, nearly 6 people are injured. Just in the recent 2 mass shootings on Walnut Street and McCallie Avenue in Chattanooga, 2 people were killed and 18 are left recovering from gunshot wounds. And that has a high cost in many different ways. On these steps and on this stage, Trinae Jordan Jr. is in his element as a father and pastor.
The trigger really triggered something in my life, and so the positivity of what I've done with that trauma. You know, I went from trauma to triumph.
But getting to triumph didn't come easy.
October 27th, 1993 was a year that changed the trajectory of my life.
And to understand that, you have to rewind to when Ternay was just 15 years old.
A stray bullet came through the window of the YMCA. One of those stray bullets hit the wall. The other stray bullet hit me in my head. And it was that day, that evening, where I lost my life.
He was resuscitated and a few weeks later wheeled out of the hospital. But his life would never be the same.
That's where the bullet went in, and it traveled to the back of my head. So the bullet is still lodged between my brain and my skull.
These are very brief moments that have such a very long impact on a kid's life.
Dr. Dave Bhattacharya is a pediatric trauma surgeon at Erlanger's Children's Hospital. He says they treat about 20 kids per year for gunshot wounds.
So these injuries, which on an adult are devastating, on a child are so much more devastating.
But the impact is far more than just physical.
I think for many people, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to them in their lives.
Psychiatrist Dr. John Cohen works with trauma victims at Erlanger as they're recovering.
It varies from person to person, but for so many people, they haven't really processed and talked through what happened.
After the initial shock, he says long-term impacts vary from person to person, but can include PTSD or survivor's guilt.
I may have survived this shooting, but my best friend, my family member died. And that sense of guilt of why is she gone, but I'm still here.
Nearly 30 years since being wheeled out of this hospital, Ternay's found a way to overcome these traumas.
You know, being shot in the head, I lost my vision, but now I have vision for my life.
But with the bullet still lodged in his head, he'll never forget the miracle that got him here. With his father a known preacher and anti-violence advocate, Ternay Jordan's recovery was public. And he says the most traumatic part of the whole incident was the aftermath, with all eyes on him. But now he has his own business where he helps trauma survivors tell their own personal stories.